Today I will be reporting on my AP Biology field experiment. What does the site look like? The site I chose was a hill in Market Commons Park. The reason I chose this area is because the environment was very diverse and I could easily observe changes in the area throughout the year. Near my house there wasn't a water source or a color-changing tree. However, here there is a big beautiful tree with a plethora of leaves. The hill is very large, which is where I usually sat. On the top of the hill it was sandy, but the side of the hill was grassy with random patches of different kinds of grass, which are usually denser. There were a few other trees as well, and the plant life in the area changed throughout the year. On the hill, I could see a few dandelions and small yellow flowering plants. There were many weeds on the hill as well, and there was an abundance of small bugs flying around. Usually, when the weather was warm, they looked like gnats. Moreover, at almost every visit, I could hear bird song, so there was different bird species in the area. In addition, in most of my visits, I could spot a group of geese nearby, and sometimes I could see squirrels. I never really saw any bees except for April and May field experience. Since the place I chose was a park, I saw Homo sapiens walking around, and when the weather grew warmer, they grew in number. Many Homo sapiens in the area are also seen running or playing around and or walking their dogs. These activities contributed to the overall ambiance I heard during the duration of the experiment. The main changes I saw in my field experience site were the changes in my tree. The tree's leaves changed from dark green to green, brown, yellow to no leaves at all, then back to bright green leaves. The details of the tree will be covered in the next slide. Besides the tree, I noticed that the kinds of animals in the site changed. During the months when the weather was typically cold from August to January-ish, the main organisms I observed were squirrels, birds, and geese. However, when the weather became warmer, I also observed bugs, flies, and bees in addition to the other organisms. As for the plant life, the main change I observed was the growth of flowering plants. The yellow flowers I observed in the middle of the year, from January to March, blossomed into dandelions. The weather of the field experiment site changed as well, since the earlier months in the year were more windy, rainy, and cold, while the March, April, and May field experiences were more humid and hot. However, elements that stayed consistent throughout the year included the scent and bark of the tree. For the tree phenology, I observed a really big tree that was directly in front of me. At first, the tree had dark green leaves for the first month. Then, in the next month, the leaves started to become multicolored. In the months of October and November, the leaves were yellow-green and some of them were brown. In addition, the number of leaves on the tree started to decrease. By the time it was December, there were maybe only 100 leaves on the tree, and in January there were no leaves at all. In January, February, and March, the tree stayed the same. There weren't any leaves and the bark color stayed consistent. However, by April, there were a bunch of bright green leaves on the tree. I was so surprised that my tree went through a massive change so quickly. As for the other elements of the tree phenology, the leaves in May looked like the leaves in August, and the number of leaves on the tree were roughly the same. The smell of bark and the color didn't necessarily change, and there weren't any noticeable traces of scat, cocoons, webs, or seeds. The three biological artifacts that I found in October were a rock, a piece of tree bark, and a yellow flower. I found the yellow flower on the hill near my towel, the rock at the foot of the tree, and the bark on the main big tree. The biological artifact I chose in October became dried up by the time I wrote the reflection for the assignment. However, after some research, I found out that the scientific name for the flower is Oxalis stricta, and it is a flower commonly found in weeds. It is very small, and the petals are not to be mistaken for the yellow dandelions. The petals are very small, and the overall plant is pretty small. The functions of these petals is to attract pollinators such as bees, butterflies, and bats. The brightly colored petals attracted these organisms, and the pollen from the flower transfers onto their legs. When these pollinators travel to other flowers, they simultaneously also germinate the flower, causing more seeds to be produced. The structure of the flower is very important to the function of the petal. In addition, the flower weed is a great example of photosynthesis. On the petal and small leaves, there are millions of stomata, which act as a gate to let gases and nutrients in and out of the plant. CO2 travels into the plant where, combined with water and energy, go through the process of photosynthesis in order to make a type of sugar for the plant. The stomata and thylakoids of the plant are vital to this cellular process. Another cellular process that is reliant on photosynthesis is cellular respiration. Through glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, and the Krebs cycle, the plant takes the products of photosynthesis and produces energy in the forms of ATP, oxygen, and water. The stem and the overall structure of the flower allows for these biological processes to occur. I originally interviewed my sister when I did the October field experience, but I wanted to talk about my mother's field experience with the outdoors because I find it more intriguing than my sister's since we had similar experiences. When I interviewed my mom, she told me that as a kid she would have no form of entertainment, so she had to play outside. She lived on the outskirts of Jakarta, Indonesia, in a small village. She told me she would often climb mango trees with her 6 sisters and would play a similar game to jump rope called lompat tali. However, she didn't have much time to play outdoors. With my grandma out in the city working in the factory, my mom, being the third eldest of her sisters, spent most of her days taking care of the younger sisters or selling clothes to provide for the family, so any time that she spent outside was precious to her. I wasn't shocked to hear about how much air pollution was in Indonesia. In fact, when I went to Indonesia a long time ago, I got really sick because I wasn't used to the air there. The environment she grew up in greatly contrasts that of mine, and I gained a bit of gratitude after interviewing my mom. And I was then inspired to try and become an environmental engineer and or consultant so other children in third world countries can have a healthy and enjoyable experience outside. Apart from gratitude, the field experience showed me the beauty of the natural world. I would I would truly set around 15 minutes to take notes from my surroundings, and in that time, no electronics or anything, I began to appreciate the beauty of nature, especially if the weather was good. I honestly found the whole experience therapeutic, and as a kid, I would always ride my bike outside. I rode my bike a lot, and the little kids riding their bike around me reminded me of those simpler times. The field experience site as a whole was a big time capsule, and it made me think back to my childhood. I traveled to Market Commons a lot as a kid. My 8th birthday party was at a picnic table nearby, and on the exact hill I was sitting in, I would roll down the hill with my cousins and make my whole outfit dirty. I would play tag around this area and roller skate, just like the kids are doing now. As I got older, I still went to this exact spot, except it became a token middle school hangout spot. After going to Starbucks or something, my friends and I would walk over here and talk on the hill and film stupid videos. It was a go-to spot of ours, and I've made many memories here. And now I'm a junior, about to be a senior, doing an AP Biology assignment here. I didn't realize how many memories the site held until I was assigned to sit and listen for 15 minutes every month, fully engulfed in nature. This site reminded me that the natural world was beautiful and holds memories, and that it should be appreciated. Water has memories, the trees have memories, and everything is all connected. Every organism in this site depends on each other. And I'm sitting in one big, beautiful community that depends on each other, just like how I depended on my friends and family. Thank you.